What's going on, everybody? We are back in the saddle again. Another round of the UGAsports.com call-in show. I'm Paul Maharry, and to my that way is Trent Smallwood, recruiting analyst over on UGAsports.com. And guys, we have a jam-packed show for you again this week. Even though there's not a ton of football to talk about, Trent, Stokes' 40 time. That's the first topic on the list. Man, let's not get into it just yet. I want to go through the topics, but good Lord. Did he bump himself up or what?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely impressive.
And then we've also got the class of 2022 predictions. Trent put out his predicted class over on the vault on UGAsports.com. The class is ridiculous. If Trent Smallwood is the recruiting director, he is going to haul those kids in, man. That class looks crazy. The Lady Hoop Dogs got to the finals in the SEC championship, but are they a true contender in the NCAA tournament? We're going to have that for you with Dave McMahon, our statistician. He's going to be bringing some stats for us on that, as well as some Diamond Dogs also. And you see the topic there, cornerback ... who ? Because guess what, guys? It's getting down to the wire. Kirby's got to find another cornerback opposite potentially Keely Ringo. Who is it going to be? Trent and I will discuss that. Is it going to be an outside object that's going to be playing there that is not in Athens right now? Tons more to talk about. So, Trent, let's get this thing shared up with all the boys. You've already got it going, man. Good stuff. And let's jump right into it, man. The phone line is open, guys, so give us a call. We want to hear from you guys, 706-363-3773. And the first topic on the list, man, Stokes is 40 time. Wow. So for those that don't know, they are not doing the NFL Combine this year, right, Trent? Am I correct in that?
That's yeah. I mean, they're not having an official combine,
right?
So yeah, they're basically just having like what they're doing with Stokes, but they're going on the same guidelines, and a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, well, no, that's hand time. No, it's hand start. It's laser time.
Right.
So that 4.24 was pretty legit, and because that's what the combine actually goes off of.
And Trent, we've actually got our first caller, so let's see if they want to talk about Eric Stokes.
All right.
And thanks for calling in. This is Paul and Trent with the call-in show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
Your favorite, Dave McMahon.
Dave, you're already calling in strong. I hear you, man. We were talking about Stokes' 40 time, but we love to hear from you as always. You've got the go ahead.
I want to talk about everything, not just Lady Dogs. I want to talk about all the sports at UGA. I've got 5 or 6 minutes to give to you right now, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. So what? I know you had some stats for us, Dave, that you had in your back pocket. So what do you have?
Yeah. All right. First of all, I want to start off. I want to start with the baseball team. I don't know if how many you followed today. Georgia had a walk-off win. It was their third walk-off win of the season so far. I mean, they had one earlier this year against Gardner-Webb. They had another one, and then today against North Florida. So I mean, they've been doing a little bit of everything. Riley King had one. What they call it, JUCO bandit. Josh McAllister had one, and today was Cheney Rogers hit one also for a 3-run home run to beat North Florida. So they've already had 3 walk-off home runs this season, and that's been nothing surprising because in the last from innings 6 through game over, like 6 through 6, 7, 8, 9, and if it goes to extra innings, they've outscored their opponents 38-15 this year. It's a plus 23. Now. That may not seem a lot. It may not seem like a little to somebody, but just think when you're at home, you might not ever have a 9th inning like to bat. So they might be only working with a 6th, 7th, 8th inning, while other teams are 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning this year, they're outscoring 38-15 or a plus 23. Last year at the same inning, 6 innings on, they were a plus 42. In 2019, they were a plus 32 in that same time. 2018, they were a plus 23. The last time they did not have a plus in from 6 to the end of the game, they were even. Back in 2017, guess what? They had a losing season. So a lot of times it's basically when they score. And this team seems like they always have a little flair for the dramatic. So that's my baseball little stat for you, like how well they do in late inning situations. Now, switching to women's basketball, what you were mentioning before, obviously Georgia came a little short today against the the Lady Dogs. They lost to South Carolina.
Yep.
a lot of people feel like last time in the SEC tournament championship was 2004, so it was a long time ago. And the last time they won was back in 2001.
Wow, that's 20 years, right?
It's about 20 years. On that team in 2001, if you remember, I mean, obviously you are a huge women's basketball fan back when Annie Landers was there. 2001, Kelly Miller sank a little runner with 0.8 seconds left to win the game for Georgia over Vandy. It was a 2-point game. She won a game with 0.8 seconds left. Not only was Kelly and her twin sister Coco on that team, but also on that 2001 team was Mary Beth Lysett, who now you might know better as Mary Beth Smart Kirby's wife.
And she was also in the stands for this game, Dave. So she was there potentially to watch them win another one, the next one after she won it.
She participated in that.
She did participate. Yeah, she was there today.
She was not that season, but there was another season where Mary Beth was also teammates with Angie Ball at one point. You might know Angie Ball now as Angie Watson of the Bubba Watson wife theme. So I mean, she was also teammates with Bubba's wife at one point.
Really? I did not know. They both played at Georgia at the same time?
At the same time. Not that 2001 season, but a different season. So it's kind of neat to have like little circle of friends right there.
The more you know.
Exactly. Switching to men's basketball, obviously yesterday was not a very good game. I mean, obviously they gave up 20. When you give up 20 turnovers and you have a struggle shooting, it's not a good.
Alabama had 22 turnovers.
They had 22. I know they had even more, but they.
Dave, I'm crushing you. I'm not going to toot my own horn here, Dave, but I'm keeping up with you on the stats right now. That's all I'm saying.
Do you know the last time that Georgia won against a ranked team when giving up 20 turnovers in a game?
Against a ranked team?
Against a ranked team, because you could earlier this year they had 25 turnovers and defeated North Georgia, which is what it is. But
I'm going to say the opponent was Florida.
No.
Okay, I'm off. 2003.
No, it was 2010 versus Vandy, and Vandy was only 18th at the time. My records only go back to 1996 on this thing, and they've never defeated a top 10 team in that time period. But the last time they had 20 turnovers in a game and won against a ranked team was 2010 against 18th ranked Vandy. But if you want to think on the positive side, Severe Wheeler had another double-double, and if you looked on UGASports.com earlier today on the dog vent, I put a little stat that he has 7 double-doubles this year, Severe Wheeler, and Tamari Kamara already has 7 double-doubles. So that's those two are tied for first with 2 other players right now in the SEC with the most double-doubles this season. Georgia, since 1980, has only 2 other times has teammates have had 7 or more double-doubles in Georgia history. Back in 1999-2000, Anthony Edwards and Sean Coleman both had over 7. And then in 1980-81 season, Terry Fair and a guy named Dominique Wilkins had over 7 for Georgia. So only 3 times in the last 40 years has Georgia had 2 players or more with 7 double-doubles. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's also pretty cool that with Dominique, anytime you mention the word Dominique Wilkins in a conversation, it's always a good thing for basketball. I want to also talk a little bit about softball, not too much about softball, a little bit of softball. They won today again. There's their 11th straight victory. So far this season, Georgia has outscored their opponents 113-36 in their games, and they've out-homered their opponents 30 home runs to 3.
Wow.
So, and yesterday, speaking of 30 home runs to 3, yesterday by itself, Jaden Fields, Dane Young brought this up yesterday to all of us. Jaden Fields, Justin Fields' sister, had 3 home runs. Prior to yesterday, she had only 6 hits in her 2+ seasons. She had 6 hits so far this season. So she had already had more hits in this season than she had the previous seasons, and she had her first 3 career home runs. The player they got to look out for in Georgia, if you ever want to look at a stat thing, is a girl named Lacey Fincher. Lacey Fincher went 1 for 2 today, so she batted 500, but her average went down. So far this season, she is batting 525. She's batting 21 for 40 with 6 home runs. So I think pretty gaudy numbers.
Wow.
And then finally, here's a stat that will help you out talking a little bit more. You mentioned about Eric Stokes' 40 time, and between him and Tyson Campbell, obviously Georgia's going to have some cornerbacks that are going to be selected in the draft. The last player that Georgia had selected in the first round by a corner was DeAndre Baker back in 2019. Prior to that, the previous corner that got selected in the first round was Champ Bailey back in 1999. He was the previous cornerback in the first round.
20 years in between first-round corners.
Exactly. But it looks like those two may or may not be first-round material. It looks like Ojulari might be the only Bulldog that maybe be taken in the first round. I mean, you guys may know more about that. Ojulari, Georgia in the last 8 drafts has had 4. They've had 4 linebackers. They've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've had 6. They've had 6 linebackers taken in the last. Okay, let me backtrack. Okay. Sorry, going back and forth. They've had 4 linebackers in the last 8 NFL drafts taken in the first round. They've had 11 total linebackers taken in the last 8 NFL drafts. So when people talk about
Jarvis was I know he was drafted by
2013.
Was he a third round?
No, first round.
First round, yeah. I don't know why I said third round.
Him and Alec Ogletree both were first round.
You're right. Yeah,
both played linebackers.
Yep.
But yeah, they're part of that 8-year stretch in NFL draft. So 4 first round people in the last 8 for linebackers and 11 total in 8. So people talk about, hey, running back you, this and that. They might be linebacker you as well.
Dave, before we let you go, I've got some homework for you that you can maybe help us out with, and you might know it off the top of your head. Who is the lowest 40 time Georgia's had, like I said, maybe in the last 20 years? Is that a stat that you can find? Like, is Stokes in that? I'm sure Stokes is in that territory.
Stokes is in that range. Obviously, Chris Conley had some kind of crazy thing a couple years ago, but I don't think it was that low.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was in the 4.3s.
Yeah, I think Conley was 4.3 something. I think they said that if Stokes was to run the combine officially, I think that was the 3rd fastest time ever. I think was what they put that as, right?
It's hard to do those those hand clocks are pretty tough and stuff like that. But we'll see what do you think you guys would run in? What would you all run in a 40 time?
Oh boy,
my goal would get to be under 8 seconds.
Oh man, did you have to run this back in high school, Trent? I know we did. I don't want to get my number out when we
Trent's in better shape than I am.
Trent, what would you run it in right now? What would you run a 40 time in right now?
Shoot, I just hope to make it in 5 flat, to be honest. But
there's no way, dude. I would put good money on it. You were above 5. There is no way in the world you were under 5.
Yeah. 5 seconds goes by a lot fast. I mean, like I said, I want to break 8.
It seems like you need to come down to the cul-de-sac down here, and you need to.
Dude, I'm ready. We can film it. We can film it and put it on the show. There is no way you were under 5 flat.
Everybody on the UGASports.com staff should do it and see.
I'm down.
I could picture people like a Seth Rainey might be our leader or so. I mean, I don't know.
Trent's quick. He's short. He's got that running back frame. He's short. He's built a little bit. Yeah. He's got that stockiness to him. He could hit the hole.
Hey,
I could see Brett Rollins going fast too.
Roddy would definitely run a 4.8 running after a pie.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's and everybody that's watching, that's how Trent got fired. So when Roddy watches this Monday, we will have a new recruiting analyst position open at UGAsports.com. The pay is great, benefits great.
Please put your application to Roddy at UGAsports.com.
Right, yeah.
Attention 40 time.
Right. So, hey, Dave, man, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, man. We know you're about to ramp up with March Madness, so you know the line's always open for you, brother.
I'm going to try to call in from Indianapolis, so hopefully things go well there, that I could call on some Sundays because I really enjoy your show. I think both of you do a great job.
Awesome, Dave. Well, we appreciate you, man. And if you got any time to join into the chat, we'd love to see it. And if you could find out the closest 40 time to Eric Stokes Georgia's had in the last 20 years, I'd be interested. I think you're right with Conley, but I'm curious. So,
and if not, I mean, I know Patrick Garvin is always a big time historian. He might know the answer to that as well.
What did Boykin run?
That's the thing about our UGA sports staff that most staffs don't have is. We have a plethora of information about everyone has different strengths about what they cover.
Hey
I
Dave,
think
did you
UGA Sports
hear
has the best staff.
before we let you go? Trent had a question for you. He said, "What did Boykin run? Do you remember off the top of your head?"
What did Brandon Boykin? Not off the top of my head, no.
But I can guarantee this, guys. If Dave has time, he will get that into the chat for us and tell us.
Oh
So,
yeah, I definitely want to look that up sometime.
all right.
So.
Well, we appreciate you, Dave. As always, Dave McMahon,
Okay.
UGAsports.com. Just an amazing statistician for us. So we appreciate him calling in, giving us those crazy stats for UGA Sports that folks don't follow that religiously. Dave has the stats for you. Guys, if you're watching, like always, every week, we want to know where you're watching from. I know you're on your couch or in your lazy boy, but what city, what state? Let us know. We love to see how far this spreads out. And if you're watching it afterwards, put it in the comments when you're watching it, tomorrow or Tuesday. Put in when you're watching it, where you're watching from, and we'd love to hear that as well. Trent, we do have a question in the chat before we get going too much further, and I want to touch back on Eric Stokes because we didn't get to touch on it a lot. QFlow81, we appreciate you, man. He said, do you guys think Crean has to make the NCAA tournament next year to keep his job? Trent, I'll let you go first. I've got some words on it, but I'll let you go first.
I mean, the expectations of Georgia basketball should be a lot higher than they are, and my opinion is I thought this year might be the year that he needed to make that move, especially coming off having a number 1 draft pick, having a nice core of players coming back. But I would say next year is the bend or break year. I think he needs to show some progress. I mean, they're just too inconsistent, and I think consistency is what Georgia needs. And actually, Mark Fox had consistency at Georgia.
Yeah.
And I know it was a lot of 500 mediocre seasons, but his record compared, to Crean's record is he looks like he's an All-American coach. So
right.
I think next year is kind of a bend or break year for him. And that's to say, I'm not. I guess he's going to be back next year.
That's where I was going to go with it. Trent, was does he make it till next year? This is going to be probably one of the toughest decisions Josh Brooks, the new AD, the new athletic director, is going to have on his plate, and he knew that he was going to have on his plate, does he bring back Tom Crean next year, or does he make a statement now and say, look, I'm turning this basketball program around. This is going to be my hire. If it fails, the next guy fails, it's on me. If this guy fails, I didn't hire him. It's not my fault that the Georgia basketball program is where it is right now. Yes, I might have had some input in it, et cetera, but I was not the AD. That's where I'm thinking, Trent, is this could go one of two ways. He gives him one more year and says, look, man, and you're exactly right, Q-Flow, if you don't make the NCAA tournament next year, and it's going to be tough next year, man, because the recruiting class isn't there as of right now. You've got a ton of graduate transfers that are leaving after this season. You're hoping that, Sevier and Kamara can progress to the level of all SEC next year, potentially. But you're looking at a team that is not deep on the bench, does not have a lot of guys coming in. KD Johnson's going to have to step up dramatically, Trent. And, if I'm Josh Brooks, there's two ways you can go about it. Tom Crean, I think, has enough skin in the game. He has enough. His resume speaks for himself with Dwayne Wade. I mean, the list goes on of guys that he's coached. Victor Oladipo, now Anthony Edwards. And you can say, look, we've got one more year for you, Tom. That's it. And if you don't do it after this year, no hard feelings. You know the drill, man. It's business. But what they also could do, Trent, is say, look, I'm cutting ties right now. Let's go get a guy like the Hayes brother that, was at
Jonas.
Georgia. Yeah, Jonas, and bring him in and kind of reboot the program and get Georgia recruiting back to in-state Georgia. So, it's one of those things to me, honestly, that I think it could go either way. I also want to see how they make it in the SEC tournament, see if they can win maybe a couple games, get some type of momentum into next season. If they're one and done after the first week, Trent, it's tough, man. It is. It's really tough because you could go either way.
It's so hard to predict with this team, too, because, I mean, and I think it all they're not a very good shooting team, but when they are when they have that good shooting night, they can play with anybody. And that goes for mainly anybody.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Trent. When this team is so hot and cold that you don't know what you're going to get night in and night out. They were winning at halftime against Alabama, who potentially could be a 2 seed, a 1 seed if they win the SEC championship and the dominoes fall correctly. They could be a 1 seed, and they were winning at halftime. We're not talking about a team that doesn't have talent. We're talking about a team that's extremely inconsistent. Is that the coach's fault or is that the player's fault? Is it the coach's fault because he didn't recruit enough guys to shoot properly? There's so many different ways you could go about it. My thing is, though, Trent, is that it's going to be make or break, and it's going to be a big decision on Josh Brooks' shoulders. I'm glad I'm not him, but that's what he gets paid the big bucks for. Going back to our topics, Trent, Stokes' 40 time, I think it was 4.25 unofficial, 4.246 I think is what it the unofficial time was on the screen when he finished. Kid was moving, and I think he might have just moved himself into the first round, Trent.
Well, I just pulled it up.
Yeah.
He hit 21.7 miles an hour during that run, and Chris Conley, who ran a 4.35.
So Conley ran a 4.35, and we thought that was blazing fast.
Yeah, he ran a 4.35, and he hit 18.81 miles per hour. You're talking about 3 miles an hour faster than what he hit during that run.
And you're also talking about a guy than Chris Conley, who is still in the league right now playing wide receiver. So we've got a call coming in, Trent. Let's see this from. Thanks for calling into the UGASports.com call-in show with Paul and Trent. Who can we have the pleasure of speaking with tonight?
That's your man down in South Florida, baby.
Hey, I didn't want to bother you. Jake Roos, because I knew you out there working hard. I know I had asked you already once if you could come on and talk to us about that South Florida Under Armour competition, and you pull through for us. What's up, big dog? What's going on?
Well, actually, I just took myself a little nap after writing my notebook and getting ready to go write a little story and maybe drink a cold beer.
There you go. So, Trent, we didn't even talk about this on the pre-show before we got on here because, like I said, I didn't want to bother Jake. I know he'd been busy down there. I'd asked him earlier. I said, hey, man, if you got a few minutes, come on and talk about these prospects where you were the only Georgia centric reporter on the ground in Miami, not tooting any horns, but I'm going to do it for you. You crushed it, and you saw a ton of guys who have Georgia high on their board. What were your initial takeaways from your time in the Under Armour Miami experience?
Well, it was a little bit of a mixed bag. I thought that there was some great talent out there. We missed out on some guys that I was really hoping to see as well, but that's kind of how it goes with these camp settings. You never get everything you want. I thought that, Georgia, from the guys that I spoke to, it's clear the Bulldogs are on a lot of minds. A lot of guys taking them very seriously. And, I know we talk about this a lot, but that's over the course of multiple classes as well. I mean, it's not just 2022, 2023 kids speaking about Georgia very highly and singing their praises. So overall, I walked away from it, with many of the same impressions that I've had, which is, Georgia's doing a bang-up job when it comes to recruiting kids across multiple cycles.
Trent, feel free to jump in whenever you want, man, about some of those guys that were down there. I know that you had your eyes on some. Who were some of the guys that you wanted to see, Trent, if you were down there?
Well, I mean, the Miami area is always just, loaded with talent. My main question I want to ask Jake is who, with Coley moving on to Texas A&M, who's kind of taking that lead role in South Florida on the Georgia staff? I know not many people are familiar. Is it kind of a group effort?
Yeah, it's really not just one guy anymore. You don't have that ace in the hole like you did with Coley, and I do think that hurts Georgia. I think that that's impacted them several times down here and over the course of the last couple of classes. I think that was a big reason why they lost out on James Williams last year. But I think that you've got to rely on the fact that you've got some great recruiters on the staff, some guys who've been doing it a long time, and some guys who've really helped make a name for themselves, not only as great recruiters, but great coaches. I mean, Dan Lanning was a name that I heard consistently mentioned. One thing I heard a lot of, too, was that Kirby Smart's kind of taken a big role with a lot of these South Florida guys as well. So I think maybe to compensate for the lack of connections that you might have sometimes, you get the head coach involved. That moves the needle for a lot of kids.
But I know that, I guess the tight end coach, Hartley is a big name, but he's more the Jacksonville area. That I always wondered who was dipping down. I've heard of Hankton down there some. I think it's been just a group effort, but Kirby taking over or having a big hand in that Miami area might shift some momentum back to Georgia's area after struggling a little bit last year in that class.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that his involvement was crucial. I think that he realized in order to do that, he was going to have to prioritize some of these kids as well. And, not that he hadn't been, but he just, like I said, didn't have that ace-in-the-hole recruiter that James Coley was for him. So I think that, Georgia's done a good job with it. It sounds like they're on the radar of a lot of these kids. I think one guy that everybody's looking after is Shamar Stewart out of Opelika.
Yep.
Yeah, Monsignor Pace. A kid who, they don't build him much prettier than that. I mean, that kid is a thoroughbred stallion.
Yeah.
But he is, he's got Georgia high on the list, and I think that it's a lot of love being reciprocated. He's done a Zoom call with him here recently, had a chance to kind of get a feel for the campus, and word around Miami is that he's maybe leaning toward getting out of the state right now. So that would be a huge, huge pickup if Georgia was able to pull that one off.
Where do you see Stewart kind of fitting in like a scheme like Georgia's? Is it like a Malik Herring type or more of a Jack linebacker?
Yeah, he's got a really interesting body type because he's right on the edge of both, I'd say. I mean, he's right, kind of in the middle. I think it just depends on how much they decide to bulk him up. I mean, I think that you could probably add another 20 or 30 pounds to him and play with a hand in the ground and kind of come off the edge like a pass rusher. But, I can see him standing up. If he stays where he's at, I think that he's a stand-up guy. But like I said, he's got room to add to that already impressive frame, and I could see it going either way.
Jake, I know that you saw Pierce down there as well. Pierce Sperlin, 2023 commit to Georgia. Tall, lanky guy, but you said he wasn't hard to spot due to all the red and black in his closet. So what did you see from Pierce that Georgia fans should be kind of looking forward to at that tight end position?
Solid hands. And I'll tell you this, I thought tight end as well. And I asked him, who you've been talking to. He said Todd Hartley. But I said, what's kind of your ideal playing weight? I think he's playing at right around 208 right now.
Yeah,
he's a little
he's skinny.
Down for
6'6", 208. Yeah, I mean, he's creeping up into my territory. So
he's slimmed down for basketball, which he's playing right now. But he did say that he wants to play the college game and maybe even the senior year at much closer to 225. So he's looking to add some weight, add some bulk. Hartley's kind of been the lead guy there, but he said, listen, I don't know that I'm being pigeonholed into tight end right now. He said, I'm a wide receiver. I played that in high school, and I'm a guy who can kind of flex out and do a little bit of all of it. He's a little bit of that hybrid guy that you're starting to see, play some tight end, some receiver. And we saw him work in the slot today. He was excellent there. I mean, he great hands on that kid, and I think a real leader for the class as well. So a lot to like about Pierce Sperlin.
Any other guys down there that Georgia fans should be getting their radar or their eyes open to, if we will, Jake, about guys that weren't on your radar before you showed up and you walked away and said, wow, if I could tell Georgia about this kid, it would be this kid. Who was there a kid down there?
There were a couple. Raylan Wilson was a kid that I saw from the Tallahassee area that I really liked. I saw Darius Hayes was another. He's got several offers already. Georgia not among them yet, but I think they'll be coming in. Just a super long kid. Looks like your prototypical outside linebacker for the new age. Brandon Ennis is a kid that I think you'll see things really start to pick up with if Georgia, continues to elevate the passing game. And that's something he mentioned he wants to see out of that offense. 2023 kid, one of the top receivers in the nation, a guy that everybody should be aware of. But, keep an eye out for him and how the expanded passing game might affect him. Another name to keep on your radar, 2023, Hakeem Williams. Really liked him. Long guy, receiver, fast, great hands. Got Georgia among his top considerations right now. Says he's in no hurry, but says that Georgia will be there when cuts are made.
Jake, go ahead, Trent.
Does Trey Donaldson have as good as hair as it shows in his profile picture?
Yeah, the hair is legit, man. I'm telling you, it is. You could spot the kid a mile away. I kept asking Chad. I said, is Donaldson here? He said, no. You'll know when he's here. And sure enough, when he showed up for measurements, I was like, oh, that's him right there. So great.
The question is he 6'2" with the hair, or is he? Because if that's the case, he'd be about 5'9" with the hair.
Yeah, he's probably about 6'5" with the hair. He's a big old kid, and really an interesting, I think, body type. Looks to be slotting in at the safety position, possibly corner. He said Georgia's talked to him about all across the defensive backfield, but a kid who's built a lot like a linebacker, in my opinion, not quite as slender as you might think about for a defensive back. A really thick player. Another guy who passes the eye test more than capably is Azariah Thomas out of Niceville. I thought that getting to see him, you're talking about a guy, Rivals 100 safety, really, really long, just looks like a grown man, looks almost like an NFL player today. So really impressed with him as well. And Georgia definitely in the mix there.
Jake, before we let you go, one last question. Trent brought this up with Dave. Dave called in, and Trent said he could run a 40. We were talking about Eric Stokes' 40 time. Trent said he could run a 40 under 5 flat. I'm willing to bet my house on that. Are you willing to co-sign that bet with me? There's no way, right?
Now, does he get to train?
No. I mean, I will go. He lives 10 minutes down the road from me. I will go over there and film it and put it on the show next week. And I will drop $100 bills on the ground saying he cannot get under 5 flat. There's no way, right?
Look, the only training I'm gonna do is 3 shots.
There's no way.
5 flat. Listen, 5 flat is a lot harder than people think. I will say this: Trent is a sneakily athletic guy, so I'm not going to write it off totally.
I think he is as
but
well.
I don't like the chances. I'll be honest with you. Now, listen, I mean, I've seen some big old guys do it though. So if Trent's got the burst, if he's got the acceleration, maybe he's a long speed guy. I don't know. I'd like to see him.
Oh man, well Jake, man, we appreciate you calling in. Try not to get in too much trouble down there in Miami, so we don't have to bail you out of jail this time. There was no last time, folks. There was no last time. We never had to bail Jake out. That was a joke.
It's a good thing you don't have Garvin with you.
Yeah, that is a good point.
We keep the fund for that.
Right, yeah. So, Jake, as always, man, we appreciate you calling in, and we, like I said, appreciate you calling in, brother.
All right, I appreciate you guys having me. Talk to y'all later.
I'm telling you right, Trent, I'm telling you right now, I will come over there and videotape it. You name the day, dude. You name the day. You're not going under 5 flat. But anyways, we'll go to the next thing. Right. Hey, Rhett, go ahead.
Listen.
The floor is yours.
I've looked it up.
Yeah.
Done a little research here.
Uh-huh.
Top 10 fastest 40 times with active NFL players.
Okay. John
Ross.
That was what, 4.24?
4.22.
Oh, no, yes, he was 4.22. You are right, yes.
4.24 would be number 2. Marquise Goodwin, 4.27. Henry Ruggs, 4.27. The Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, 4.29.
Okay, so even if Stokes did the 4.26, which some were saying 4.25, whatever, 4.26, tomato, that's the second fastest 40 time of all time.
Of NFL active players.
Of NFL active players. Does that the whole reason I brought up Stokes and I wanted to bring off the show with it, and we just had some great calls we haven't really been able to dive into it. I think now NFL scouts love 40 times, dude. Al Davis and the Raiders, if you ran a 40 time under 5 flat, like Trent said, they're looking at you. I mean, does this put him in the first round?
It's going to be close.
I think so, too. I really do, too.
But you were talking about Georgia players earlier, and we Conley ran a 4.35. Can't forget about our boy McCall Hardman running a 4.33.
Yes, he did do that. You're right. So,
So
and it boosted McColl's stats. It boosted
did.
him up to the third round, which was
And he's doing pretty good now. He's got a Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah, he's got one Super Bowl ring and almost got a second one if it wasn't for the ageless wonder Tom Brady. But yeah, man. I mean, I think honestly, this with his speed, the way that Eric Stokes looks right now is completely different than when I went to cover him, and I was the only reporter there covering him at 7:30 in the morning on National Signing Day when the Dogs offered him at midnight the night before. Yep. He looks like a completely different corner. He has when I first met Eric, he was extremely raw corner. He really hadn't even played cornerback, and he was extremely raw in the sense of I don't think he really believed in himself as a football player. He believed in himself as a track star, but he did not believe in himself as a football player. Kirby Smart and the coaching staff over at Georgia did a hell of a job getting this kid to where he is now. You look at him now, he's got that swagger about him, Trent. Like in the videos he posts on Twitter, he looks like a completely different kid. And I think with that 40 time, it really could boost him up into the first round. I really do believe it.
Yep. And I mean, there's going to be, NFL teams just drooling over that 40 speed. I mean, there's one thing, and the thing is, he has the stats to back it up. And I know every time they post something about Stokes, you see Alabama people get on there and say, well, he couldn't guard Ruggs, he couldn't guard Smith. But if we go back to that game, the Georgia-Alabama game this year, Tyson Campbell allowed 167 yards.
He got burned.
That game. He allowed 167 yards against him. That was his job. They only targeted Stokes 4 times.
I was going to say, 3 or 4 times, wasn't it? Right.
They targeted him 4 times. He did allow 3 receptions, but it was only for 33 yards. So, I mean, he did allow some receptions, but he didn't get beat over the top. I mean, he wasn't the one getting burnt. So
the funny thing is, Trent, we still have Georgia's pro day to come, and we still need to see what Tyson's going to run his 40 in, because I don't think he's going to be that close, but he's going to run it as well. We've got a caller calling in. Thanks for calling in to the UGAsports.com call-in show with Paul Maharry and Trent Smallwood. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with tonight?
Hey, guys, it's Dane.
Dane, how did you – I knew it was you, but did you like that whole open right there? Did you like that? I think it was pretty good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I like everything you guys do, right? This is a great YouTube channel. I have to say that.
Yes. Well, if you guys aren't aware, Dane Young, UGAsports.com, the man does it all for us, talks to Jim Donnan a ton. And the reason I wanted to bring him on, guys, was if you're a subscriber over at UGAsports.com, Trent, they have something amazing coming tomorrow, and that is Dane and Coach Jim Donnan were able to catch up with Daniel Jeremiah of where is he at now? Is he NFL.com?
NFL Network.
NFL Network.
NFL Network.
Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network, one of the best draft guys out there. And Coach Donnan and Dane were able to sit down with him over Zoom and talk about all Georgia prospects. And it's really going to be one of those articles where you get your money's worth for the whole month out of just one article. Dane, can you preview that for us just a little bit? We've been talking about Eric Stokes, man. And did you guys talk to him after or before the 40 time?
So we talked to Daniel Jeremiah before the 40 time was public, but the comparison that he had between Stokes and Campbell is very interesting, and I think a conversation a lot of Georgia fans are going to like. I've been working on this piece some today because what we're doing is we have the YouTube video that will be live on this same YouTube channel tomorrow, so people can see it and listen to it there. We'll also have the audio version of the interview on our podcast feed for Spotify, Apple Music, wherever people listen to podcasts. And we've transcribed comments for all 11 of Georgia's draft-eligible players, including where he thinks they will go. In the case of Stokes and Campbell, he said that this is a debate in the NFL with people that he has talked to about one or the other. And he said his perception is that 60% of executives in the league probably prefer Campbell and his athletic skills over Stokes. And he would go 60-40 Campbell over Stokes. Although Daniel Jeremiah said he'd probably lean toward Eric Stokes. And I would imagine that 40 time in particular may have either balanced the scales or maybe even push Stokes in that direction.
Trent, feel free to jump in at any time. I'm going to ask Dane one more question, and then I'll toss it over to you. Dane, who was one guy that Daniel Jeremiah, DJ, was extremely high on that you didn't really think he would be that high on? Does that make sense? Like a guy that, everybody loves Aziz, right? But was he super high on Aziz, or was it somebody else that he was like, man, this guy right here, I think people have him a little lower than expected?
Yeah, so one of the guys that he referred to, well, I guess let me tell his process first. So Daniel Jeremiah, his first scouting job was with the Baltimore Ravens. He worked for them early in his career. And he said that they had things called red stars, that no matter what round a player was going to be picked, you wanted those guys on your team. And he said of Georgia's 11 draft-eligible prospects, the red star guy is Richard LeCounte. And, I think a lot of Georgia fans will understand seeing that because of his energy and his enthusiasm. He said that he would probably target LeCounte in the third or fourth round, but he just loved how physical he played and the instincts that he had to, attack a ball carrier.
That's pretty high considering, I'm with DJ on that. I think LeCounte has the it factor. He's going to be one of those guys, Sean Williams for Georgia, who played safety. Nobody really talked about him. He's been in the league for, 10 years. I had a class with him back at UGA. Super nice guy, but he's been in the league for around 10 years now, 8 to 10 years. Nobody talked about him, and he's just consistently stayed in the league. I think you're going to see that with LeCounte as well. That's funny, though, that DJ has him high up there in the third, fourth round, because some draft boards have him like in the sixth. So it'll be interesting. I think his pro day is going to have a lot to do with that. Trent, what do you got?
Yeah, I think Richard is just he's not going to blow you off the when he gets his 40 time or he gets his vertical. He's not going to be that guy to line up the numbers. But I think he's just a high character kid. He's going to give you everything he's got, and I think while he's not going to blow you up with numbers, he's just going to be a fundamental football player at the next level. And I just I think somebody's going to get a steal with that in the third, fourth round. Another guy that I think that has a chance is Trey Hill, just because I think he was playing out of position.
I don't want to take everything away from your article, Dane, and we'll quit prying into it because I know it's going to be a huge piece. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Trent, but did DJ touch on Trey Hill at all, just like Trent was saying?
Yeah, he did. The first thing he said is that all the offensive linemen that tend to come from Georgia in the last couple of years and really even projecting forward, they're just massive human beings. And so that in itself usually gives them a chance in the league. I think he had Trey Hill around the fourth or fifth round. He said that there are a lot of things that he has to improve on, shotgun snaps being the one thing in particular, should he stay at center. But he just said, he's a fighter. He said he does a really good job of blocking down the line and winning his hand fights. He just thinks that he's going to have to work on his angles once he gets to the second level. But the fact that Trey Hill graduated in 3 years, that shows that he can probably handle the adult part of the league a little bit better than maybe some other guys.
Yeah. I'm just interested because I don't see him. I just think Georgia had could have went and put him at offensive guard. I think he would be coming out of Georgia right now as a more highly touted prospect than he is coming out as a center, because he did struggle with his snaps at center, and I think that's what.
He had redwood trees for legs. Trent, remember that?
I don't even know how he got it between those thighs.
I don't either, dude. I don't either. Dane, thank you so much for joining us, man. I don't want to give away too much of what you've got planned, but that. Just alone with what you gave us, if DJ gave that much information on each prospect, it's going to be a killer article, killer video, killer podcast. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And I'll give you a tease that people can go see. It's the first story that he tells in the podcast. There was a time when Daniel Jeremiah, the football player, this was when he was It's now Louisiana Monroe, but it was Northeast Louisiana in the late 90s when he played there. He later transferred to Appalachian State. But when he was a quarterback at Northeast Louisiana, Daniel Jeremiah's team was set to play Jim Donnan's Georgia Bulldogs in Sanford Stadium. There's a reason that Daniel Jeremiah didn't play, and I think it's a pretty funny one. So that's within the first 5 minutes of this podcast, and we'll have it in the article as well.
Awesome, man. Well, Dane Young does it all for us over at UGASports.com. We appreciate you calling in and talking to us about this as well, Dane.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Anytime.
All right, brother. And just like that, guys, we gave you a great tease into what is going to be on the site over at UGASports.com this week, Trent. They've got that interview going up with Daniel Jeremiah, also the podcast, and also the video interview will be here right on this YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out later on in the week. Rhett Womack and Mitchell Fletcher, guys, we appreciate you just as much as you guys appreciate us putting this show on and keeping the chat going for us. Trent, let's move on. We've got a little bit more time here. We've been going for 45 minutes. Feels like 10, man, because I love talking with you. But let's move on here. And your class of 2022 prediction was put up over on the Vault, and folks went crazy because, damn, dude, that class is ridiculous on paper. You think it all comes together like that, huh?
I mean, that's just the feeling I have today. I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of changes that I'm going to make throughout. I mean, but right now I have it sitting at Georgia landing just current as their rankings stand today, 4 or 5 stars and 19 4-stars. And
goodness gracious.
A lot of that stuff will change because you got some 6.0 guys that are on borderline 5-star guys, but you have a 5-star committed in Gunnar Stockton, and you have a 5-star committed in Bear Alexander. You have a 5-star committed in Tyree West. So you already have 3 of those 5 stars committed. Michael Williams could have a decision date coming sooner than later, and he's another 5-star. And they have potential to make this a big class. And I think another guy that could get up towards that top 40 range or top 50 range is Malachi Starks. And
I just pulled up the article from Chad saying that he's committing on March 25th. Funny you mentioned him. He's probably one of my favorite prospects in this class, honestly. The way that he can, do so many different things and do it well. Is what intrigues me. You can put him on either side of the ball, and he I think could shine. And being a Jefferson kid, right in the hometown, he's got people in his ear constantly telling him pick UGA. Looks like finalists for him: UGA, Bama, and Clemson. The usual suspects, if you will. Trent, what's your take?
I mean, I think it's going to come down to Georgia and Clemson, to be honest. I think Alabama's in it, but I think that Georgia and Clemson I've heard more about thus far, and it's going to be hard to not pick Georgia, being from where he's from, and having Georgia people all around you, and it's kind of being a Georgia stomping ground, but. Some kids tend to, decide to go elsewhere, and Clemson is big in the state of Georgia. So I think that's going to be a battle all the way to the end. But I mean, I like where Georgia stands right now, and it'd be another in-state prospect for Kirby, and I think that's where the Bulldogs are going to rely heavily on in this class is in-state.
Rhett Womack says over in the chat, he's especially happy about the defensive line already. He says it's an absolutely nasty class. I think, Trent, just from when we started, or even before that, let's say back to 2010, would this potentially be the best defensive haul in terms of stars that Georgia's had at defensive line, if they're able to wow the rest of the guys that are on their board?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be up there, definitely. Technically, guys, the edge rushers, like they had Georgia had the class with Aziz and let's see.
Who was in Aziz's class? You're making me look it up now.
Aziz, Adam Anderson. Uh,
Yep.
the Gosh, he's at Florida now. My mind's going blank.
Brenton Cox.
Cox, all those guys were in the same class, and it's crazy to think, looking at that class, that Aziz is the top guy of that class coming out, but because he was kind of the low man on the totem pole, with that class, you're kind of sitting under guys like Adam Anderson, especially on the as far as rankings go. Brenton Cox, Adam Anderson, both 5 stars, and Aziz was a 4-star, but. That was a talented class, but Georgia's really needed. Trey Scott's done a great job in developing these defensive linemen he has. But I mean, I just look forward to seeing what he can do when he gets his hands on a 5-star guy, interior lineman like he's got now. I think Trayvon Walker is still an edge guy, but I look forward to seeing what he can do with those 5-star interior guys.
I mean, Jordan Davis, I think, would be the most highly rated defensive tackle interior guy that Georgia's had, and he wasn't even rated nationally. So he was a 5.84 star. So Tyree West, those guys are already rated higher than Jordan Davis, and Jordan Davis was 6'6", 320 coming out of high school. So, it's going to be one of those things. If Georgia's able to land a couple more 5-stars on that defensive line, I think it has the potential to be Georgia's best class. If you're calling in, guys, I know we've seen a couple calls come through as unknown due to, crazy folks calling in. I do want to see the phone number pop up so I can see it's local or see where it's coming from before we accept it into the show. So sorry if you are a loyal listener and calling in. If it is an unknown number, though, we're not going to be answering it, though, unfortunately. So moving forward, we talked about the Lady Hoops. Just real quick, Trent, let's touch on that. They had a great run so far. It looks like it's not going to stop anytime soon. They're going to be going into the SEC, they lost today against the Gamecocks in the SEC championship, but they're going to be going into March Madness with a team that's really ready to go. Joni Taylor, congrats to her, winning the Coach of the Year for the women's basketball in the SEC. So wanted to touch on that. The next thing I wanted to touch on, let's touch on the Diamond Dogs really quick, Trent. They're playing Tuesday, and I think Cannon's going to be pitching for them. A lot of folks are going to be really excited about that. And then last topic that we've got here, Trent, before we end off the show, cornerback who? Because that is the biggest question on anybody's mind right now. And it's been the biggest question for quite some time, really, with the decisions of Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes to go pro. Kirby's going to have to find 2 new corners that didn't get much time last year. And, who are the guys on the team right now that you would feel confident putting out there? Because we can talk in hypotheticals all we want. We can talk about Kendrick all we want to. We can talk about the next guy that enters into the transfer portal. But until he puts on the red and black, the guys that Kirby has now are the guys Kirby has now. And spring practice is right around the corner. It's starting, I think, the 16th or the 17th. I think it's the 16th. Who's your starting corners right now, Trent, when you're going into spring practice?
I mean, I think it's Ringo on one side and
a question mark on the other, or what? Do you have a guy?
I think right now, if you had to ask me today, I think I'd pencil in Jalen Kimber, and that's putting 2 kids I haven't seen, or well, Ringo hasn't seen any time, but
right.
Kids out there that are very. They don't know what it's like, and you're putting them, you're throwing them heavy in the mix when you're playing Clemson in the opener. So
and playing the defense that they run, where it is strictly you're out there on an island with your wide receiver. There's really not a lot of coverage or help over top. Mainly, you're running really press man type stuff. It's tough. It really is.
And I think it would be, if it does indeed be, if it's those 2 guys, if Georgia doesn't go into the portal and find a more experienced veteran that can come in and kind of help Ringo and those guys, I think you're going to see a lot of zone blitz kind of concepts when Georgia plays Clemson. I think it'll be a total different thing just I mean, who wants to throw somebody to the fire against Clemson's big wide receivers?
Right.
So
They've got tons of wide receivers that are, like you said, just monsters. It seems like they are, as Georgia is running back you, Clemson is wide receiver you right now in terms of just the guys that they're putting out there. And
luckily you got guys like Chris Smith, Lewisine, and
Brittany.
I would say Brini at star right now,
Yep.
and you got that's three veterans back there that's gonna be able to help calling the plays and stuff like that, and keep those guys in check. I think that is a big help, and I think they're going to look to Chris Smith to take that leadership role that Richard LeCount was in. I think I thought Chris played good when he came in.
Definitely.
And filled in for LeCount during the year, and I think that is going to be the guy they look upon for that leadership.
So you're saying as of right now, two guys in Ringo and Kimber are your starting corners. Then you've got the leadership in really the safety positions and the star position, backing those guys up. I still think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trent, you probably are on the same boat. I still think Georgia brings in a corner, at least one, right? I think we're still under that impression. So I don't want folks thinking that this is going to be the final say, but I think that there's other guys out there potentially, right, Trent?
Yeah, I think you're going to see Georgia pull in the corner. I don't know. Will it be Kendrick? Will it be somebody that we don't even know is about to go in the portal? I think they're going to pull in at least one, and I think it'll just be for veteran leadership. A guy that can come in and help that group. Georgia is not only going to be starting two new corners.
Hey, Trent, we've got a call coming in. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in to the UGAsports.com call-in show with Paul Maharry and Trent Smallwood. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with this evening?
It's Gerald.
What's going on, Gerald? I thought that was you, man. I thought I recognized the number. What's going on, man?
And I tell you, Tyson Campbell is the most overrated cornerback Georgia's ever had in my book.
Really? Why is that? Why is that, Gerald?
He's not a good cover guy. My goodness, guy, look like he gets beat all the time.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Gerald. Georgia and Kirby stuck up for him a lot this past season, especially in the press conferences, because they put him out there on an island by himself. He's going to get beat sometimes. And did he get beat a good bit this year, more than you probably wanted to see? Yes, but I don't know if he's the most overrated they've had in some time. Is that what you're thinking, Gerald?
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, most underrated one we got too.
Okay, who's that?
Smith wants to take his place.
You talking about Chris Smith?
Yeah.
I like Smith. I don't think he's going to play that outside position, corner, but I think he'll do a really good job in the safety position.
I've been around a pretty good while in this world now, and I've seen cornerbacks go and come. He's one of the worst, and I'm saying I'm sorry. He just is.
Really? So you were not up on the
5-star, you know.
You weren't up on the 5-star, huh?
Well, don't always pan out. I mean, a lot of them don't.
I hear you, Gerald. I hear you. What else you got going on out there in Lafayette?
Nothing. As usual.
Oh,
but that's just like get drafted into the pros. Most time, once you make it, you never hear of.
Gerald, I want to ask you before we move on. Do you think Trent Smallwood, the guy sitting to my left or right, however you're viewing this on your phone, could run a 40 under 5 flat?
I don't know. I mean, I ain't never seen him sitting down. So I don't know what he looks like. Like the rest of his build, But, I mean, he looks like he'd be in pretty good shape, though. I don't know.
And see, Gerald, I was hoping you'd take my side on this, but it sounds like you're kind of taking Trent's, unfortunately.
Well, I don't. In my prime, I probably could outrun him, but.
Do you think you could outrun him or no?
Well, I know I could. I mean, I'm sure I could. I mean, I was pretty fast,
Yeah?
Like, I'm not going to say it.
I think we might have to do it up in Lafayette, Gerald. But
I don't. Well, I couldn't now. No, I
Not
couldn't
anymore.
outrun nobody now.
not anymore, huh? Well, we
I
should.
used to play.
Go
I
ahead. Go
used to
ahead.
play ball too. I used
Yeah?
to play ball.
Yeah. What position were you, Gerald?
Well, and baseball in left field.
Okay.
I didn't play much football. I wasn't big enough.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
I
Well, we
one time if you bobbled the ball, I was on first. Didn't have time. Probably.
There you go, Trent. Maybe back in the day, man, he might have had you in the 40 time, brother.
I'm 60 years old now, man.
How old are you?
60.
60.
I'm 60. I was born, and I'm 60 years old.
You might still beat Trent in that race. You might not be giving yourself enough credit.
Too many health problems.
I heard that, man. Well,
but you know, it's there's a lot of people that used to play sports. You can look at them now, you know, and couldn't tell they played.
right.
But,
Well, we sure do appreciate you
lot-
giving us a call, Gerald.
yeah.
We'll catch you on
Y'all
next
have a good
week.
night.
Yes, sir. You too.
You have a good night.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Guys, if you've been with us for a while, you know that's Gerald from Lafayette. We're not going to have a show without Gerald from Lafayette. I think, Trent, I really do think we're going to film this. This whole 5-flat thing. I'm holding you to it, dude. I don't think you're anywhere close. I think you're like 5'6", 5'7", really. I think you're like 5'6", 5'7". We've got a couple comments. Go ahead. What you got?
He mentioned in the, he hasn't had the best, he didn't have the best college career.
Touching back on Campbell, right?
Back on Campbell.
Yeah.
He had the best college career. I do think that he was another guy that was thrown into the fire as a true freshman. He spent a lot of his sophomore season hurt, and he made the rebound his junior year. So he didn't see as much college time as, some other guys did.
Right.
I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen Georgia play for a while, and I've seen the Byron Evans and
right.
Who was the cornerback a few years ago that started over DeAndre Baker as a freshman?
I mean, you had oh my goodness. I see his picture right now, dude. I literally see it. Look it up because this is going to bug me.
He's from Maryland.
Yeah, Jawan Briscoe.
I mean, watching Briscoe, he's still giving up passes to Ole Miss. So,
good God, Trent.
You're trying to. I mean, the one thing about Campbell, he never had an interception at Georgia, which is it's kind of one of those things that you look back on, you're like, how does that happen? But
right.
He had a very up and down career. I think if he would have had his sophomore year, a healthy sophomore year, I think he would have been a lot better as a junior, and I think he would have had a lot better stats. But him being injured and DJ Daniel kind of taking over in that role during that time, and then Campbell coming back this year, and I think he had a very good start to the year this year.
Yeah, he did.
But the Alabama games where it kind of went downhill, and he if y'all remember, who was it before? Oh, the Seth Williams at Auburn. He shut Seth Williams down.
Yeah.
He had some good games early on, but he struggled against Alabama. He struggled against some key opponents. He struggled against Florida, and I think that's what he's going to be seen as, and that's the reason why he's kind of viewed as a overrated guy. But I still think he has a lot of potential. I think he has a lot of potential at the next level. He's got a lot of length. He's got a lot of speed, and I think he's going to have a good NFL career. But going back to the thing that Stokes or Campbell, it would be hard pressed for me to say Campbell over Stokes, just because I think they have similar speed, and I think you see Campbell get beat a lot because I think Stokes has got better hips. I think Stokes is just all around better corner at this stage, and him putting up that speed that you thought Campbell might run.
Yeah.
I think that kind of pushes the momentum back towards Stokes.
Well, Trent, it's been a jam-packed show, man. We had Jake Roos call in. We had Dave McMahon call in. We had Dane Young call in. We had Gerald call in. We've had Mitchell in the chat along with Rhett, Radical KB, Q Flow, all of the guys that are normally around. We appreciate you guys so much. Mitchell said Cena Smith getting Spring to work together more is going to be great for the back end of the secondary. Looking forward to seeing them. And he said Gerald's always a delight. I agree with both of those statements.
And Brainy, I think Brainy played very good in the bowl game, and you haven't seen much of him during his career at Georgia. But I think him getting a full spring as the starter at that star position, and I know Kirby's not going to list him as a starter because he don't list no starters, but him getting the first team reps at that position, I think that's going to be key for him because I think he had a very good bowl game and he has something to build off of.
I think so too. I think that momentum for him, like you said, is going to be crucial, and getting that kind of swagger underneath him. He's also a guy that really can grow into the player that I think Kirby saw all along when he was recruiting him. Guys, we appreciate it so much for you guys calling in. Also in the chat, we're going to go ahead and cut this baby loose. You can go watch the NBA All-Star Game and touch base with us next week as we touch on whatever topic Georgia comes around with. There's so many Georgia athletics going on right now. We'll have SEC men's basketball to touch base on, the tournament, as well as seeding for the Georgia Lady Dogs, how the baseball team's doing. Does Kirby get a transfer by the time we're talking next week? Who knows? Spring football is right around the corner, guys, and we cannot wait to bring it to you here on the UGASports.com call-in show. I'm Paul Maharry, signing off for Trent Smallwood as well. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be seeing you. Go ahead, Trent.
And don't forget about that 499999940 time about to run.
I'm telling you right now, guys, I promise you I will do it for you if you want. I will go over to Trent's house. I will film it. It will be a full-fledged production, folks. We will have it here on the show. No way in the world Trent Smallwood runs under a 5 flat in the 40. I got it right here, folks.
I'm going to get drafted this year. So.
If you run under a 5 flat, I'm telling you right now, you shave my head bald. There's no way. Anyways, yeah. Well, there's the bet. There's not much up there right now. The wife took off a good bit. That's why the hat's on. But, yeah. Oh. Okay. All right. I'm down with it. I'm telling you right now, I'll put up literally anything. You're not running under a 5 flat. Guys, we appreciate you watching so much. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video. That helps us reach out to other folks, and then they can join us as well each Sunday night moving forward. Again, I'm Paul Maharry. Trent Smallwood's, he's that way.